Hi, this is Shep Altshuler, publisher of TimeSharing Today. Welcome to this broadcast of TimeSharing Today Radio, featuring news and views of owners and industry professionals. Today we are being joined by Gregory Crist, President and Chief Executive Officer of the National Timeshare Owners Association. Greg and I will be discussing NTOA's new proactive approach to addressing many of the key issues facing timeshare owners, resort owners associations, and the industry as a whole. Hi, Greg. Welcome to the broadcast.
Well, thanks for having me, Shep.
My pleasure. You've been very passionate about timesharing, I know, through our conversations, and it goes back quite a while. How did you originally get involved in timesharing? And then give us a little background about the NTOA and where it is today.
You know, it's hard to believe my parents started in this industry sometime 40 years ago at Fairfield Glade. And many of my family and friends still own timeshare today. We vacation together quite often, and it's just kind of a natural fit. I've been around the industry for a number of years. Well, the association has been around for nearly 20 years. And last year, our team came in and took over the helm, and really it's been an exciting transformation. We're excited because our organization is growing with new members throughout the United States and Canada, and we've brought on a brand new vice president, Wes Sattenfield, as well as a new director of industry relations. Christy is our office administrator and director. So we're very excited some of the changes that are happening right now.
Yeah, and you approach NTOA from that perspective of family history. As a timeshare owner, you have the experiences, and you certainly became aware of the challenges of the industry. So it's been a year since your acquisition of NTOA. And tell us a little bit about what happened along the way and what the path of the last 12 months has been.
Well, we've really been involved in some consumer protection initiatives, specifically with the secondary market as it pertains to resales, transfer scams, and some of the travel clubs. We've been tracking a lot of these entities and posting advisories on our website. We also communicate with ARDA and a number of other entities that are consumer protect groups.
Is that what you see the future to be, trying to create a more positive environment for the owner?
It's very important that the owner not be distracted with a lot of the fraudulent scams that are going on in the secondary market. We want to keep them apprised of things that are happening, but our real focus is to, educate owners, advocate, and really protect and preserve their ownership interest. We can do that in a number of different ways. But again, our website is really dedicated to all timeshare owners, not just our members. We provide a lot of good educational resource materials on that website, and we invite people to go to our website and check that out.
Now, you are definitely staying on top of the litigation that's going on in the industry, and there seems to be a growing trend of activism by various states' attorney generals going after scammers. There was a recent report on a major bust in Wisconsin and other areas, and there's also other issues that we see through timesharing today relative to actual fraudulent transfers of timeshares. So how do you see that law enforcement is becoming more mobilized, and what you see is the main problem in terms of the impact that these fraudulent transfer companies have had on the owners and the industry?
That impact, financial and otherwise, hits not only the developer, but the association and the remaining owner roster. Many of these owners are lured into these seminars or webinars and unsuspectingly do not understand what is happening. They're intimidated by the things that they're shown, and so they make a bad decision, and ultimately a transfer may not occur, and subsequently they may be out thousands and thousands of dollars. They won't know for a couple of years whether or not their timeshare was actually transferred out of their name or not. And that's the problem. We've got a lot of properties out there where we don't know where they're located. The homeowners associations are trying to secure these properties. They're contacting the former owners, not being aware of what's happening, and the owners are, unfortunately stuck in the middle. So we're trying to go and help both of the owners associations, the management companies, and of course, our owners and members to sort some of this stuff out. But it is a real problem. There are significant legislation efforts ongoing which will help regulatory enforcement stop some of the fraudulent transfers. But it's something that the whole community has to get behind and really put a stop to these things.
So will NTOA be actively working in that area of possibly legislation and also helping to mobilize law enforcement? Is that part of your role as well?
Indeed. Part of our Consumer Protection Initiative is to communicate with law enforcement agencies as well as speak with the industry and its agents to determine the best course of action. But we're very involved with these issues and will continue to be in the future.
We had gotten some reader inquiries about a situation that's going on at the Manhattan Club in New York City, and I know you have followed that closely. Could you tell us a little bit about that recent litigation that was brought about by the state's Attorney General?
Absolutely. This is just one case that we've been following, and frankly, this issue has been going on for a number of years. The Manhattan Club has been hit by several lawsuits over the last several years. The most recent civil action was recently dismissed, where owners centered up on accusations of the developer's unfulfilled promises, which is access to the reservation of their units. What's ultimately going on now is that the Attorney General has initiated an investigation and subsequently filed suit against the Manhattan Club and its three principal developers. As a result of this, you're going to see that the judge has ordered asset freezes, complete halt on any timeshare-related activity as it relates to sales and marketing, no exchanges or transfers, and certainly the judge took particular interest in adjoining all of the parties from doing any additional foreclosures or collecting any additional payments on the promissory notes. So this is a very serious lawsuit that we're going to be watching very closely. You'll see that reported in TimeSharing Today in the next month, and we look forward to watching this case evolve.
So this could be a game changer within the industry because you have now a government agency that's really gone in and taken a close look, not only at the surface issues, but they've looked at presentations. They actually sent investigators in. Is that correct?
That's right, Shep. The New York Attorney General's office did, in fact, send investigators undercover. They posed as buyers. They observed high-pressure sales presentations and certainly reported back that sales representatives had used misinformation to win sales. One of those ways that is really troubling is the fact that in the public offering plan, it does disclose that the Manhattan Club can rent to the general public. Many of the owners were told specifically by the sales reps that Manhattan Club did not rent to the public and that reservations were relatively easy to obtain. As a result of that, people wanted to buy a big piece of the pie, and people wanted to buy into the Manhattan Club mainly because the representatives were telling them it was better than money in the bank. And so as a result, you've got a lot of owners very upset with the Manhattan Club that they can't get access to their own property simply because they accuse the developer of renting the property out to the general public.
Right, and those are all allegations that are made by the State Attorney General?
Indeed.
Right, okay. We're all aware of the bad, damaged, tarred reputation that timesharing has in the mainstream media. And how would you characterize that? And what do you think has to be done to change that horrible public image that seems to be so prevalent?
Well, the NTOA is actually conducting a national timeshare survey. And that survey starts to monitor the sentiment of owners in a positive, neutral, or negative way. Sales is certainly an area that we hear a lot about, a lot of problems with. The culture of the timeshare industry historically has tolerated some of the things that are being reported, such as in the Manhattan Club issue. We see less of that today than we have in years past, but there still remains some isolated issues. And unfortunately, the media picks up on some of those things, and it does hurt the entire industry as a whole. So collectively, I think a lot of us have to start working together to be talking about the good stories in timeshare, There are certainly some bad ones out there, and if anybody wants to read them, they're easily obtainable on Google. So, there are some really great things we think are happening in the industry. We're glad to be part of it, and we're going to continue to advocate for good timeshare legislation.
Now, one of the complaints we have had from timeshare owners over the years, and it still goes on today, is the inability for owners to have easy access to other owners, to talk about conditions at a specific resort, or to get involved in potential proxies, submitting proxies, really understanding how their boards of directors work. How do you see that whole communication situation evolving in light of social media that's out there?
Well, the Internet's a great game changer. Information is certainly more accessible and easy to find. Homeowners and board members routinely talk to each other, not only by email, but they've got owner groups and forums. Certain websites are actually constructed for particular owner groups like WorldMark. So you see these owners communicating a lot more today than they ever have before. They certainly want to stay connected. They want to know what's going on with their own development. They also want to know what's going on in the timeshare industry as a whole. So we see a lot of different ways that they're out there communicating. One of the ways they communicate is through us with the National Timeshare Owners Association, and it's a great situation. We use the Ask NTOA program for that very purpose, so that owners can communicate with us some of the things they love about timeshare, some of the things they're concerned about timeshare. So we're very active in that area as well.
And you're being a proactive advocate in the sense if a timeshare owner has a identifiable problem that needs to be taken back to, let's say, management, could be one of the major developers. Do you walk through that process on behalf of the owners?
Oftentimes we're asked to engage a developer with an owner issue. We certainly have some relationships in the industry which allow us to do that. Oftentimes the NTOA can help resolve an issue where it doesn't escalate. That's usually our preferred method, and putting the owner directly with a higher level of management contact for possible resolution. That's our goal, is connecting these relationships and ensuring that the owner has a good timeshare experience.
Do you feel that there is going to be a solution in the near future for a lot of these older owners at older resorts that are desperate to get out and they don't feel that there's a viable exit strategy for them today? Do you think that's going to change in the near term, or is it going to be a longer term process?
I see a lot of people in the timeshare industry trying to address this problem right now. The legacy category, actually, I'm very excited about that category because I see great opportunity for a lot of those organizations to redefine what it is that they're doing. Through the economy recovering, some of these resorts are in better shape today than they were just a few short years ago. Certainly foreclosures and defaults have started to slow as a result of an economic recovery, but the homeowners associations and the management companies are starting to work closer with the NTOA and other organizations to find solutions like this. The Timeshare Board Members Association is leading the way in that area, and we're happy to support that organization as well.
And how do you see the larger associations like ARDA working together with you to affect legislation that will ultimately benefit and protect the owner?
Well, the NTOA certainly has the pulse of the consumer and the timeshare owner. The American Resort Development Association represents well over 1,500 resorts. We interface with that organization very, very well as one of their members, and I do have a good amount of communication with many of the ARDA trustees and people in the organization.
You said you're active with the Canadian Timeshare Association that's been around for quite a while. And are you seeing that there's a commonality of issues that prevail here on the U.S. side of the border as well as across the border in Canada?
Well, timeshare is a global product, and there are some similarities across the board, and there are also some unique things that are not. I think the Canadian culture is slightly different. I know the senior management at Carta very well. They take a very hands-on approach with their developers. We have good connection with that organization and their members, as we do with ARTA. But simply the best way that I can put that is that there are a lot of different organizations that are trying to work together, and that group is known as GATE. And those organizations communicate the issues on a global basis.
Yeah, and there is a problem that's prevailing in the industry that's not often talked about, but it's the piling up of unsold inventory that's being held by various resorts. And these are units that have been taken back into inventory, and where the marketplace right now seems to be somewhat in a decline state, and maybe it's bottomed out. How big is that problem from your perspective, that we have owners who are dues-paying owners that have to carry the burden for every non-generating timeshare that's out there? So how significant is that in your mind?
It is a significant problem. There is a significant amount of inventory in the resale market that's not going to go anywhere until the industry works with the timeshare community to find solutions. I think we started to see some real efforts back in April at Art World regarding this issue. Resale is probably the number one problem that everyone is centered on right now because there's about $10 billion worth of that inventory sitting around, and it needs to be worked through.
In some cases, some of these timeshares were sold in low-demand areas where you have off-seasons and the traffic is down from visitors, so you find a lot of those are finding their way into the transfer companies and finding their way onto certain sites like eBay, where weeks are being given away for free or as low as $1. And that certainly doesn't help the public perception when the perception is, well, timeshares are easy to get into and really tough to get out of. Do you have any specific advice for an older couple that they're no longer able to afford the cost of the maintenance fees, or they're not able to travel to their resorts? What do you tell those owners who may be calling you?
Well, we do get a lot of those phone calls, Shep, and I'll tell you that we immediately communicate with homeowners associations of those resorts, first to determine if they have a voluntary deed-back program. Some of these organizations are looking at their aging owner base and have determined that it is in their best interest to have a deed-back program. Some of these programs do have some cost associated with them, so I would definitely urge owners to directly contact their owners association to determine what, if any, of those costs would be. But it's certainly a far better situation to work with the homeowners association and an amicable resolution to deeding back that property versus just stop paying it and let it go into foreclosure, or to be exposed to the fraudulent transfer world out there where someone would pay thousands of dollars up front for literally no service whatsoever.
And looking forward a little bit, what do you see NTOA accomplishing in 2015?
Well, I'm doing a lot of writing, obviously, for TimeSharing Today and a number of other publications. I'm also touring a lot of conferences, and I'm speaking at some of those conferences about customer perception in our world. The timeshare industry is very sensitive to reputation management. Just recently, a reputation management council was formed by ARTA for those very reasons, to look at the industry as a whole and to determine what can be done to increase or improve the consumer perception by the media as well as by existing owners.
And are you optimistic about the future of the industry, or are you pessimistic? How do you feel about it?
I feel that there are a lot of people that are certainly out there trying to improve the day-to-day situations of some of the problems that are going on. It takes more effort collaboratively with the NTOA and other organizations to solve some of these problems because of the scale and size that they are. And we are talking about a national problem, not something that's just regional. But we'll continue to work with partners in the industry to find best solutions to help consumers and owners.
From a perspective of new buyers, what do you think has to be done within the industry to make the timeshare ownership option a very good option for a young family?
In my mind, timeshare is a superior vacation product, and I think that contracts of perpetuity are archaic and that owners don't want to have those types of restrictions put on them. I can think of no other contract in any other line of business where someone would sign something in perpetuity. And timeshare is a good product. It doesn't have to be sold in perpetuity. We've seen other models of timeshare in vacation ownership be a right to use or specific time, specific contracts, say 5, 10 years. That's something I think that the industry is really starting to look at and perhaps will start to go towards in the near future as they address the millennials.
And what specific advice would you give to an owner relative to these ongoing telemarketing solicitations, email solicitations, direct mail solicitations?
Certainly when an organization is out there soliciting a timeshare owner, they should be extremely wary. We do not recommend doing business with solicitors nor anyone that asks for upfront fees. If you're out there looking for a service in the timeshare industry, you can find good operators. If someone's calling you to sell your timeshare for you and you didn't engage that individual, hang up the phone. Owners who have been subjected to some of the secondary market scams should really consider calling their own local or state government to check licensing, contact the Better Business Bureau, see what their business profile looks like, how long they've been in business, if they have any complaints on file, what the resolution to those complaints were, if any. Take some additional safeguards to protect yourself and your property, because identity theft is a growing problem in this country, and timeshare scammers seem to get a lot of information out of owners, including their credit cards, and that leads to other problems down the road.
So if any of our listeners want to find out more about becoming a member of NTOA, how can they go about doing that?
Certainly they can visit our website online at nationaltimeshareownersassociation.com, or they can contact us toll-free at 844-ASK-NTOA.
And also you've been running an ad in TimeSharing Today, so they can look for you there as well. And just spend 1 minute explaining what the cost of membership is.
The standard membership cost for a family is $89 per year. However, if you're a subscriber to TimeSharing Today, you get a special incentive discount at only $35, so that's a good savings.
So before we hang up, give them your toll-free number again.
That's 844-ASK-NTOA.
Thank you, Greg. We appreciate you taking the time to speak with us today.
Thanks a lot, Shep.
And this